Okay, continuing on question 2, article 3. The second way is efficient causality. Now, this is very similar to the argument from motion, but we're talking about now not a first mover, but a first cause. So the data we're looking at is not motion, but cause. Everybody knows that things cause other things. That's why we ask the question why. That's what makes our intellect move and search for reasons for things. And so that's a datum of experience that nobody can doubt. Okay, and so nothing. So here's another. So a principle St. Thomas uses here, in addition to the other ones, is that nothing can be its own cause. Okay, nothing can cause itself. And again, that really reduces to nothing can bring itself from potency to actuality. Okay, he says if something was found to be its own efficient cause, it would be prior to itself, which is ridiculous, right? Again, you can't go to infinity because you can't have an infinity of intermediate causes. Okay. The third way is different from the first two. We all have an experience of things not having to exist. If things go out of existence, animals die, or things, dissipate or corrupt, or if something new comes into existence, a birth of a baby that didn't have to be, right? It was done through free choice. Or we have this sort of sense that some things are more necessary than others. A giraffe existing is not as necessary as 2 plus 2 equals 4. You can imagine a universe without a giraffe. You can't imagine a universe without 2 plus 2 being equal to 4. So we have this experience, okay? And now this is an interesting argument. I'll just read it. He says there are things that are possible to be and not to be. They don't have to be. It is impossible for these always to exist. For that which is possible not to be at some time is not. Okay? So at some point, something that is possibly not existing will not exist. If you give it enough time, let's say, chances, right? But if everything is possible not to be, then at one time there could have been nothing in existence. So everything that could or could not be, if you give it enough time, it would go eventually out of existence. Everything would go out of existence. Not just everything would die, right? But everything would just not exist if it didn't have to exist. And therefore there'd be nothing. Okay, now, if there's nothing, what's going to get things back into existence? Well, if there's nothing there, then nothing can do it. In other words, act is missing. If there's just pure potency for existence, this is sort of the issue with the Big Bang. People like Stephen Hawking will say that things. Stephen Hawking will say that things just popped into existence from nothing, or Lawrence Krauss, as if potency could give birth to actuality. They're just denying this fundamental metaphysical principle that you can get act from potency without there being something already in act. And they think they could deny this for whatever reason. Whatever they think that somehow quantum theory or whatever they understand in cosmology now somehow permits you to sort of believe in this. But really, what you're dealing with here is magical thinking. It's like the rabbit in the hat. You cannot give what you don't have. If something doesn't have act, it can't give act. You can't get something from nothing. Okay, these are principles that everybody has known at the beginning of human history, human speculation. To say that you can get actuality from pure potency without there being act is to perform a magic trick and get a rabbit out of a hat, basically. But if you don't think so, please dispute with me in the discussion box. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, and so there'd be nothing in existence if everything could not be in existence. Right now, there'd be nothing in existence, St. Thomas says, because that would just continue forever. But the evidence, there is something in existence, namely the universe. Therefore, not everything is merely a possible being. See? Not everything is something that could be or not be. Therefore, there must be a necessary being, and that being is God. Okay. The fourth way is what people would consider the most Platonic or Neoplatonic proof, the gradation of things. Gradibus qui in rebus. We find a gradation of qualities. Some beings are good, all beings are good, some are less good, some are more good. So more or less are predicated of different things. Now, if there's more or less, and you're judging more or less, well, how are you judging the more or less? How are you judging whether something has more of a certain quality? There must be a sense in which you're judging it from the perspective of the most. For instance, if you see a color and you say, "Oh, that's off-white," okay, that means you have a sense of what white is, right? Absolute white. You wouldn't be able to detect declinations in whiteness if you didn't have a sense of white, right? So off-white requires there to be the knowledge of white, perhaps even the existence of white. Let's just say for now, the knowledge of white. So St. Thomas uses the example of hottest, right? So that's hotter than that because I have a sense of what hottest means. Now, St. Thomas says that because of this, because of the way we predicate things according to a maximum amount of something, that's how we sort of know how to predicate. He says, there must be something which is truest, best, noblest, something which is uttermost being. Okay, maxime ens, uttermost being, maxime ens. And the maximum in any genus is the cause of all in that genus. Fire is the cause of all hot things because it's the highest being in the genus of hot things. So it's the cause of all hot things. Therefore, there has to be the cause of being, the cause of goodness, and every other perfection must be the highest in those genera, and it must exist and be the cause of it. So that's very much different than the other proofs. Again, we're building on fundamental data: motion, causality, possibility. Now, our own judgments. This is more of maybe a Cartesian. That's why it's more Platonic, because Descartes was more Platonic thinker than Aristotelian, to say the least. So we're beginning with our own experience of discerning and predicating qualities of things. We begin with that. We end with the need for there to be the maxima ens, the highest being, which is also truth and goodness, and that's God. Finally, the fifth way, we see in the world order. That's it. We see things happening for the most part. You know, rocks go down. You drop a rock, goes down. Fire goes up. Fire burns things. Why do things happen like that? Why is not everything completely random and chaotic? Well, in other words, why do things seem to act for an end? Okay? Why do trees grow up? Okay? Why do they assimilate this and not that nutrients? Why does water make them grow and lack of water makes them die? There's a certain end. You know, it's like trees want to grow, you might say. Now, of course, they're not doing this consciously. Well, that's the point, in the sense that they are achieving their end. St. Thomas says, whatever lacks intelligence cannot move towards an end unless it's directed by some being endowed with knowledge and intelligence. And he used the example of an arrow being shot. An arrow wouldn't keep going toward a target unless there was someone directing it to that. But nature itself is like an arrow moving towards a final cause, a telos. Therefore, there's some archer behind nature, a naturer, you might say. And he says, therefore, some intelligent being exists by whom all natural things are directed to their end. This we call God. But this is not the same as the intelligent design theory or irreducible complexity in those things. It's simply the fact that things happen for the most part. You know, there's some kind of fundamental order. It doesn't have to be in the complexities of the mitochondria or something. It's just the fact that rocks go down. The fact that rocks go down most of the time, or all the time, the fact that the sun comes up every day, that's enough to prove God's existence for St. Thomas. Okay. All right. That's our commentary on question 2 of the Summa. The next section will talk a bit about analogous presentation of God's existence and qualities in the Compendium Theologiae.